The first time I built in Old Carlton, the people here didn't know what to think. But when the library was completed, I was becoming recognised as a valuable friend to have. But for one person in Old Carlton, as impressed as they were, the library represented more of a prison to them. Let me tell you what happened.
Can you go away?
This story's not about him. I was pleasantly surprised to find Quinn's cheeky grin greeting me in Old Carlton.
Tough times, I'm afraid. Had to sell me other llama on. From the looks of that, though, I'd say Old Carlton's doing all right.
He was referring to the foundations of the library I was working on, where I began the process of moving Gloria's office at her request. Gloria's pamphlets had finally started paying dividends, for a visitor had arrived, another merchant who joined Quinn in the square.
Call me Bogey. Oh yes, I hear tell this place a ways off. You won't be finding the things I'm selling anywhere else around here, where for every emerald so they are.
I told myself I saw past Bogey's charm, and that I spent all my 8 emeralds on things I really couldn't get elsewhere. Quinn now had a rival. Thanks to me, that rival was celebrating a very profitable day, and I was happily holding some brain coral and a dark oak sapling.
Looks like I'm more of a merchant than the merchant.
I wondered if Quinn was regretting his adopted pseudonym, but if he felt embarrassed, he didn't show it. Dana was stroking the stubborn donkey I'd found in the square. He's a beautiful beast. I wish I could spend all day with him, but I fear we have a lot of work to do. In the skeleton of the library, Gloria was telling Dana which old books and parchment to move over first, with specific instructions on how to correctly handle them. Tomorrow, I'll tell you what I've learned from that tome you brought me for. Once we have a few more things in order, I must admit I'm quite excited to share my findings.
I don't care how many nightmares you are all having. Those phantoms will not go away unless you sleep.
When, in my surprise at hearing this information, I let slip that I hadn't slept in days, Phineas's famous temper was unleashed on me for all to hear. Fortunately, Bogey was there to break the awkward silence that followed.
I'll be making sure to mention the wealth and generosity of these lands on my travels. Good day to ye.
Bogey purposefully locked gazes with Quinn as he was singing his thanks to the town. Quinn ignored him and approached me.
Here.
Quinn handed me another lead.
You may have given this git an excuse to run his gob, but it won't stop me giving you this. I heard a rumour supposed to have come from a pillager that some sort of adventurer was slain at the cost of 3 of his comrades.
Quinn looked me up and down.
But I suppose you shouldn't believe everything you hear.
All the stone I'd gathered from hollowing out Mount Portley wasn't going to be enough to finish the library alone. I'd also need a ton of wood for inside, and there was still the conundrum of how to make the roof. I steeled my mind against the deluge of Endermen visions that plagued the mountain, something I was getting used to, as I frequently made trips back to the halls under cover of night. I had truly forgotten to sleep again, against Phineas's directive, but whilst the skies were patrolled by phantoms, At least I wasn't interrupted by him. Gloria was carefully manipulating the pages of the tome that were brittle from years of seawater, but somehow still held together by an aura of magic. This book, it's incredible. It's a diary that belonged to a soldier in the old king's army. I continued working on the library as Gloria read passages from the old tome. There were entries about his everyday life, of his friends and family back home in the Sky City, stories about his adventures in and out of the Sky Legion, and his recounting of the myths and legends he believed. There were even a few passages about the ongoing struggle to keep the Sky Kingdom's conquered lands in check. A goldmine for Gloria. She sometimes paused to explain the value of seemingly benign information, such as how difficult the soldier found cleaning his socks whilst in the field. Concentrating on not falling off the roof, I missed much of what was said, but I felt Nelly buzz in my pocket with an excitement that mimicked Gloria's energy. The book ends with a first-hand account of the Battle of Steam. Most people don't even believe that it ever happened. This is legend. Gloria was overjoyed. Little did she know there would be more to come. But before then, I had to get on with the project at hand, which at this moment required fending off some of the other distractions. We moved the remainder of Gloria's office to the library. Dana had been instructed to scribe an exact copy of the book and was struggling to hide her boredom. Just do your best with the runes. We can make note of it in the appendix. The Battle of Steam is hardly described at all. He didn't have time. See the fluster in his handwriting and the numerous smudges and blots. I think he knew the worst may happen. From what the ancient soldier had written, his squadron were forced to flee the battle. He didn't even know which side won, but their enemy were as monstrous as they were warned. The entire battlefield was caked in such thick steam that his squadron of horse archers couldn't see friend from foe. When all hope seemed lost, a mysterious figure, barely visible, appeared behind the hordes of monsters and cut down scores of enemies. But rather than rally to their brother, they and many other soldiers used it as an opportunity to get away safely. The horses had to swim far in their heavy armour, and from the place I'd fished it up, it seems they almost made it. You seem to have reached that part of the book rather quickly, Dana. I may have glossed over a few things. Gloria was patient in her light scolding as she tried to explain the risks of the incomplete copying of manuscripts. If everyone took shortcuts, by the time it was copied 10 times, it would be a new book altogether. I'm sorry, Gloria. I was going to go back to the other sections. Last time I was here, after I built the boathouse, Gloria had told me how to make terracotta from clay. Unfortunately, I squandered the clay I had gathered when I jumped the gun and smelted it into bricks. Thus, I looked for another way to make the roof, which led me to a deposit of tough red stone, granite. In the day I chopped, and in the night I dug. The phantoms got their own back on me out in the open stone plain. With nowhere to hide, their dive bombs had plenty of space to pick up speed. That same night I finally slept, opting for the bed I had originally intended to be my own here. Although, after the phantoms got me, I didn't see them in the sky anymore, and Phineas was free to once again venture out at night. This deadly encounter with the phantoms had almost taught me a lesson, because I thought that my enchanted bow was lost, but it had just been picked up by an opportunistic skeleton. Over the following days, I would also collect a number of interesting things from the monsters in the area, most excitingly of all, a potato, which I vowed not to lose again. Once I'd finished gathering the granite, I turned to fishing in the boathouse at night instead. I dragged up a nautilus shell and another saddle. Later, I had a great string of luck where I pulled up a piece of leather, followed by 2 magic books. It seemed the lake around Mount Portley was home to a treasure or two as well. When I presented the magical books to Gloria, she was ecstatic. Oh, to think these might contain history of Old Carlton itself. Thank you. I hope we can do this place you've built proud. Dana's head slumped into her parchment, presumably having done so at the prospect of having to copy these new texts too. She sighed as she rearranged the paper she'd accidentally knocked to the floor, before being pulled from her task by Gloria. Come, Dana. Help me restore these so we might read them. I'm sure you'll find this far more enjoyable. First, we just have to remove the barnacles. My next step in collecting what I needed for the library was into the jungle, east of Old Carlton. There, I gathered flowers and beans for dyes, and a few other things I didn't need. I also stumbled upon another mysterious ruin, similar to the one on the Eerie Island. Despite the perpetual raging fire that needed my hand to put out, this time I wasn't perturbed and stayed long enough to take some of the strange ground and what I could carry from the treasure chest. I added a stone cutter to Breen's expanding workshop, made from the iron taken from the chest in the jungle, and gifted her with the little iron that remained. I previously tried to use a stone cutter in the Grumpy village whilst building their forge, but with no luck. Here, with Breen's watchful gaze, I polished the granite and cut it to fit the roof of the library. Before I could continue work on the library, Dana pulled me into her old office. I've seen you fighting lots of monsters out my window at night. If you managed to pick up some string from a spider, might I ask you something? Dana told me about a loom, but before she could finish, Nellie provided me with a recipe for one, and I set it down. With some of my spare wool, Dana and I tried to match the flag of Old Carlton from one of the ancient maps. The smile she had whilst embroidering started to flatten. I wish I didn't have to work in the new library. I don't mean to be ungrateful, but I'd much prefer spending my time working at the loom. Or with the animals. Why not? Someone needs to take care of the pigs. And that donkey. You mean stubble? I can't. Gloria needs me. Together, we finished the replica heraldry and took it to the library to show Gloria. Dana didn't express her true feelings then, perhaps because of Gloria's proud smile. I needed one last trip to the halls of Mount Portley before I'd have everything I needed to finish the library. Whilst I was there, I dropped off what I could carry from the valuables I collected in and around Old Carlton. But the real reason I had come was to pick up 3 bits of leather Nellie had encouraged me to take in Lushville. There was a buzz in the air of Old Carlton. Out of nowhere, several iron golems had materialised to protect the town. All seemed excited at this, except Raine, who couldn't help but agonise over the further strain this would put on the town's supplies of iron. I cracked my shoulders in preparation to face the shell of the library. As I got to work, I spotted another one of the mysterious orbs lying on the floor. Finding them was almost becoming a common occurrence. As the structure of the library took form, I heard some raised voices below. "It's not just the grunt work, Gloria. It's everything. I'm just not as into all the history as you are. I didn't know you felt that way. I feel guilty for letting you down. But if I don't say anything now, I'll just end up doing something I don't love. I don't want you to let yourself down. You're talented. How can I be good at it if I don't care? Sometimes, caring about something doesn't mean enjoying every second of it. Whatever you choose to do will come with hardships, and in this place, you could do some amazing work. Are you sure this is what you want?" "I'm sure." "Well, all right then." By all rights, the magic books are yours, but perhaps once again you'd allow me to keep hold of them, so I might copy them into manuscripts. I promise to give you the magic ones back. That element of the books I can't replicate. Take Stubble. He'll help you carry everything. I insist. Anyway, it's my first decision in taking care of him. Just bring him back safe." I'd needed Stubble, even if it took all my strength to tell him where to go. The chests in Gloria's old office and Phineas's room were overflowing. I was almost sad to say goodbye to my bunkmate. When I got to Mount Portley to collect Talus and the rest of my belongings, Stubble ate the golden apple I'd got from the treasure chest in the jungle right out of my hand. At least he was better behaved after, and I wasn't really fazed. Dana may not have been interested in the books, but Gloria had inspired me. I almost regretted letting her keep them now. Or at least I would have been, had I not stopped off by Lushville on the way home, at night to keep Talus's presence quiet. I knew where there were some more books. Luckily, Teddy was still awake and happy to oblige.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, Bob and Lad only really care about me knowing the stuff about farming. And crikey, there are enough books about that. Who knows what's in these others? I can tell you, I won't be reading them anytime soon. Look, I don't mind giving you the books, mate. You really did us a solid when you saved Gibble. But better keep this between us. The people here aren't too happy with you. The merchant passed through, told everyone about the library you're building for Old Carlton, and I think they're a bit jealous. Also, there's a rumour you pinched the last of our leather. I wouldn't be too put out though. I'm sure they'll be alright about it.
I would find out how they'd be about it, but I had some things to sort out first. I had to find somewhere more appropriate to house the skeleton horses, and I wanted to get the crop tower working properly. And, most excitingly of all, I had everything I needed to finally make the enchanting table. I was trying to open Stubble's inventory at the end when I accidentally fed him the golden apple. Soon after I had to feed him a load more of the normal apples because I accidentally hit him, also when I was trying to open his inventory. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.